It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
Well, good morning to you, race fans. Welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced, white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Get over to Joe's Karting today. It's going to be a hot one again, as we've come to expect. But don't worry about that because it's indoors. So there's going to be nice airflow. And if you're able to put down some fast lap times, you won't have to worry about getting hot. Because that breeze is going to go right through your hair, right through your mullet if you're Eric Jones.
He got rid of the mullet. Give the young man a break.
You never give somebody a break if they have a mullet. Anytime in their life, it is a lifetime obligation for all of their friends to give them grief for that brief mistake.
His mom made him wear it. So.
That's a good point. Today's show brought to you by Archer Purdue Auto Sales. Thanks to Archer Purdue Auto Sales for bringing us the live shows in 2018. We've got just today and then the one in October for the Kansas race weekend that we'll be doing, that the two race shows left. So thank you to Archer Purdue Auto Sales for stepping up. And Brad Archer down at Knoxville last night. Oh, sorry, to Brad Purdue down at Archer. Brad Archer.
Yeah, I did get a chance to speak with Brad before the SLMR race. And
what a cool event. I know that Joe and Steve and everybody for the SLMR series have been working for about 3 or 4 years. Every time he'd come in, he'd kind of give us, we're getting close. And they finally got it done last year. And to race this year, it was a non-points night for the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series. We'll talk about that race. Plus, we'll recap a little bit of Indy and what the playoff picture looks like coming into Las Vegas today for NASCAR. Then in turn number 2, we sit down with Adams County Speedway's very own Bob Harris to talk about their points championship that was wrapped up last night and the tradition that comes up here in a couple of weeks at Adams County Speedway. Turn number 3, we'll talk about some of the news and notes going around the NASCAR world. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about the playoff picture, kind of give our thoughts on who we think is going to get eliminated this first round of 3 races. And then in turn number 4, we'll get you set for Las Vegas. And in turn number 3, you're going to want to listen because I have a inside track on a celebrity that's going to be at the Cornhusker Classic. You've got an idea about it because we were sitting and talking about it with Kevin Larkins. So that's as far as I'm going to go with that. Fans, if you want to, you're going to have to listen because it's going to be a NASCAR star. Retired, right? He's a retired NASCAR star.
Pretty much.
I don't think he's racing anymore.
Well, to say he's not racing anymore is hard to say because he might run a bull ring here or there. You know?
A truck series, but a truck series race. I don't think he was on the schedule this year, but I'll have to look back and see. But anyways, that'll be coming up in turn number 3. And then, Dirk, you were down at Knoxville last night for the 14th annual Late Model Nationals featuring the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series. I don't care what anybody says. When you're on this radio show, it's the Knoxville Late Model Nationals featuring the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series. Talk a little bit about the weekend or that trip down there.
Well, first of all, I got a little snippet here. Any parents out there, please teach your kids some manners. You know, somebody does something for you, say thank you, and that includes the parents too. They were doing the T-shirt cannon, and my brother happened to catch a T-shirt as they went by, and there was some kid going bananas, and he was jumping up and down. Well, the shirt was an extra large, which you guys know me and my brother. It ain't going to fit neither one of us. So he hollers at this kid who's sitting about 5 rows in front of us and hands it over to him. His parents were very appreciative. Him and his brother both said thank you. 10 people around us are all giving thumbs up. So they come back by the other way, and they actually hit me with a T-shirt. I didn't even get out of my darn seat because I've had a sore back for a week. And same thing, it was an extra large shirt, so I hollered at this kid that was standing behind me about 3 rows that had been going crazy trying to get one, and gave him the shirt. No thank you. No thank you from his dad. Nothing. And that's just plain rude, you know. And then I did get another shirt that fit. So,
oh, that's good.
I actually had 2 T-shirts. I was like a magnet. The second one, I had to put my hand up and catch before it hit me in the face.
What's that?
Could have put the 2 together.
Oh, yeah. You could have swung the 2 together.
Would have had a funny seam in it. So anyway, it was a double X, so I went ahead and gave it to my brother. So he got a little Knoxville souvenir he'd never been before.
Side note, we talk about the Malvern Bank being down at the Knoxville Nationals, and we know our experience with the Knoxville Nationals. Our favorite story with driving down there last year when we took Anthony Ainsley with us as a part of the show was the amount of coin the boy spent at the souvenir stand.
64 scale cars, boy. He took a truckload home.
You talk about
he loaded up Dan's truck.
Literally, we had the broadcast equipment that had to go in the back of the truck, and he sat in the back of my Colorado, which is a full crew cab. It's a very spacious truck, and there was 3-4 grocery bags full of diecast cars and T-shirts, and I just wonder how much he spent last night.
I don't know. I never saw Anthony. I did hear him talking on the radio once, so I don't know if he was down in the pits, if he was actually up in the booth. I'm not sure where he was, but he was in attendance, just as all the regular officials were. Rick was there. Rick and Gene were doing their thing at the trailer.
Well, I got the report from last night's race. It sounds like the Malvern Bank Super Late Model race was a pretty good one, and some of our top boys got to finish quite a ways up. I'm trying to find the post here. Looks like top 5 included Chad Holliday, Andrew Kaziski Brian Kaziski in 5th, Chad Holliday in 4th, Andrew Kaziski in 3rd. 2 guys you're not surprised to see up at the front, and 2 guys I'm not surprised to see when you said they pretty much leaned on each other and used each other up on that last race, on that last lap.
Yeah, that they did with Tad Pospisil picking up the win and Kyle Burke coming home in 2nd, but less than a car length behind. Real good racing right towards the end, just like it is at Knoxville every year. The lap traffic comes into play, and I think that was part of it. But you had 2 grooves. You had no middle of the track. You either went clear to the bottom or you went clear to the top. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that depended on what gear you were running. And I talked to several guys before the show, and there was quite a discrepancy in gears that people were going to run. So, and that might be exactly, how much motor you actually have, even though they all put on the restrictor plates. But it was about 1.5 seconds a lap slower on that big track than what the Lucas Oil boys were.
Well, that's not bad.
No, it wasn't, but it was still great racing.
And a heck of a lot cheaper to run that series.
Oh, yeah.
Than the Lucas Oil boys.
But did have a nice talk with Jay Burdick, and he's got some ideas, and we spent a little time talking, and we are going to try and get him on the show here after the fall brawl when the season's done, and he can tell you some of the ideas that he would like to see come through with the series.
It's great to have a sponsor like that, the Malvern Bank, that puts up so much money to keep this series going. But then he's also very involved with the series, talking with Joe and Lisa and giving ideas and different things that he wants to see the series go to. It's not just him writing a check and saying, "Hey, bring me some bank accounts." Well,
he's been around racing his whole life, and this was a non-points race, but he was still at the race. He was down smoozing with the racers and everything else, and he bounces his ideas off of some of these guys. Hey, if we tried some of this, would you guys still be around? You wouldn't, go run another series or something, and there was a few guys that they had some issues with some engine rules, clear back in June, and there were a few guys that kind of quit running the series, but the vast majority of them stayed, and they had a lot of regular or non-regular cars as far as the series goes. There was like Daryl DeFrance was there, and he doesn't run near all the series, but he does get to a few shows. And I did find out yesterday that, like up at Webster City, they have basically, for their weekly late models, they've adopted the Malvern Bank Series rules. So I think that's kind of cool, because I'd seen something where he had won some Malvern Bank race, and I'm like, and he's holding this Malvern Bank trophy thing, and I'm like, well, Webster City, they don't even race at Webster City. But that's what that was all about. Because I got it right from the horse's mouth when I talked to Jay on that deal.
Yeah. What happened with Corey Zeitner? Typically a front runner for the Malvern Bank, finished 27th, only completed 7 laps.
There was, I don't know if Corey was one of the engine failures or not. There was like 2 engine failures in the race, and he may very well have been one of them.
Okay. I was surprised to see that on the scoring sheet when he came in tail end Charlie for that, only completing 7 of the 22 laps. So congratulations to Tad Pospisil. Unfortunately, it's not a points-paying night, which he would like. Fortunately for the former points series leader, Ben Schaller, it wasn't a points-paying night. He only finished 14th, so he had a tough time his first trip to Knoxville. And Kyle Burke, your current series points leader, walks into the final night, the Midwest Fall Brawl here in a couple of weeks over at I-80 Speedway, with a pretty good advantage going into it. And if there's anything that Kyle has taught us, and it's that when he's got more than a 5 or 8 point advantage, you just might as well give him the trophy. Unless there's, you're obvious, unless there's a mechanical failure or some sort of extenuating circumstance that you're not really able to expect. If the controls are in his hands, he's going to race that race. He's going to race it hard, but he's going to race it smart, and he's going to win that championship.
Well, and it's kind of funny that he's racing Ben Schaller. Remember when we talked to Ben a couple years ago when he won the title? I think his title was just a weekly title at I-80, but he was talking about having a 5-point lead the last night and how I'm just going to go cruise around and stay in the top 5. And he goes, I went into the first corner about half speed and the car wouldn't turn. And he goes, so much for that plan. He goes, we got to go race or we're not even going to stay in the top 5. So
good race weekend over at Indy. I was really, I think we kind of sat down and talked. Actually, before we get to Indy, I want to talk a little bit about the Lucas Oil race. I guess they were there at the Knoxville Raceway last night. So let's talk a little bit about that race. We're about 10 minutes into it, so let's give it a couple of minutes, and we'll hop on Indy real quick.
A lot of cautions. Jimmy Mars took the lead on, I think, a 41st lap and gave it up for about 50 feet to Bobby Pierce later on. Bobby had started 22nd in the field and was up battling for the lead, and he got tied up with the second and third place were him and Don O'Neill, and they got together when O'Neill jumped the cushion in 3 and 4. And Bobby ended up spinning out. O'Neill was able to get his car straight and not have to stop, so Bobby had to go to the back. I want to say it was 18 laps to go, so he went clear to the back with 18 to go and still got, I think, a 6th-place finish. So wow. He was very fast. Good
for him. Good racing last night, though, as you could always expect from those guys?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Outside of Mars making it a laugher because when Bobby Pierce had gotten to 2nd place, Jimmy had a full straightaway lead, but Bobby ate it up in like 5 laps. Wow. He was just a rocket.
Holy cow.
But they were on the same line, so it was tough to pass.
He's going to be one of those guys that if he can – is he overdriving it? Is that what you're thinking?
Oh, I think he was last night a little bit because he jumped the cushion in 1 and 2 a couple different times, and it was a huge cushion, and it was almost like it was, almost high center in the car. Mm-hmm. I mean, he'd lose 20 car lengths when he did it. It was just terrible.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of guys doing it. Just like I said earlier, it was a 2-lane track. It was way on the bottom or way on the top, nothing in the middle. Some of the guys were trying to cut through the middle, but then it was a slide job every time. And, but everybody drove clean. Nobody dumped anybody. Jesse Stovall had a terrible weekend. He made the feature on Thursday night and broke a motor. Made the feature on Friday night and broke a motor. But he still finished high enough with all the points that he earned from the 2 nights to have a starting spot in the big show on Saturday night, and he went out in hot laps and broke a motor.
Jesus.
So he ended up borrowing Rob Tolan's car. Rob's a racer from the other side of Iowa, eastern Iowa, and I think he just ran a few laps just to get the start for the points and went ahead and parked it.
Get a much more in-depth and at-scene coverage. Dirt on Dirt does a fantastic job covering the Lucas Oil late models. That's why we don't touch on it too much because they've pretty much got that game wrapped up. So get yourself a Dirt on Dirt subscription. You can even watch some of the recaps if you even if you don't have a membership. But do yourself a favor and get yourself a membership. That Dirt on Dirt membership is well worth the fee.
And if you've got Mav TV. They were there doing their filming as always, okay. So I don't believe they had a live broadcast last night.
And I wonder if the Malvern Bank race will be on there.
That I couldn't tell you because, the Lucas feature took an hour and a half.
Wow.
So I don't know if they'll put that other feature in or maybe just some highlights from it or something because, like I said, the last lap with the 04 and the 14 was, something to watch.
And that's the exact reason why Joe and Lisa want to do this. The more exposure they can get this series, the more money they can bring into it, and they're doing a fantastic job with it. So kudos to those guys. Kudos to the racers that were able to qualify. It was an invitational only, and I don't remember all the criteria for how you had to get in, but there's so many drivers that race this series on a regular basis and hit it when it comes into their area, and there was only 22 invitations sent out. So, 30 invitations.
I was going to say, there was 30 cars there, so... Well, with 8 of the invitations must have been bring a buddy.
All right, over to Indy. Pretty good race, back and forth a little bit, but Brad Keselowski was able to have the best strategy and the fastest car. You thought when he came in for that final pit stop, you kind of thought, what did they do? But then in the back of my mind, I kind of thought, wait, this is a lot like the year he won the championship when they were having they had really good pit strategy, and he was able to get into the position and make the race, make it work for him. Brad Keselowski ends up getting his second win, 2 wins in a row on the year, so he'd already punched his ticket. He just bettered his position coming into today's race at Las Vegas. Eric Jones comes home second, Danny Hamlin third, Kevin Harvick fourth, and Clint Bowyer rounds out your top 5. Kurt Busch, Jamie McMurray, Kyle Busch, Paul Menard, and Ryan Newman, your top 10. I want to talk a little bit about Denny Hamlin's comments, and a lot of people were making hay about, he was frustrated because lap cars once again ruined his opportunity. And, if the funny thing, when Denny said that, the first thing I thought of was, okay, well, it hurt him, but it helped so many other guys. So for him and Brad are going to have the exact opposite opinion, because Brad's happy that caution came out. Brad won the race because of it. And this is happening all across racing all over. Lap cars and slower cars have just as much right to be on the track as the leaders.
Yeah, but they've got rules that they're supposed to live by, and that's why they have a move over flag. And you do see a lot of times in the Cup Series that some of these guys don't see the move over flag. They're not listening to their spotters, and they might be racing somebody where they're 3 laps apart.
These guys were racing. It was the 00 of Landon Castle and Jeffrey Earnhardt were racing together, and they were racing for position. They had every right to be racing, because for those 2 guys, every position is more money in the bank account at the end of the race.
Well, that, and I'm sure there's a little bit of bad blood with the 00 with Jeffrey Earnhardt.
Maybe.
Because he started the year in that ride and had it for, 4 or 5 races, something like that. So that was probably a little bit of it. I can beat these guys, type thing.
Or I want to beat these guys. I got to beat these guys.
But in all honesty, if you're several laps down at that point, just fall in line, go race on the last lap. You don't need to be racing when there's 15, 20 laps left in the race, because you're not going to be able to race for 15 or 20 laps. You're going to crash.
I don't think these guys did anything wrong.
Well,
and
I
Jeffrey
didn't see
lost
the race,
the car.
so
Jeffrey lost the car underneath Landon. And did you see the replay of the accident?
No.
Watch that. Oh, man. Earnhardt's car got about 8 feet in the air when it hit the wall. That was the hardest hit I've seen all year long.
You've got speeds at that track, so that'll happen.
But it was just kind of interesting, because once again, this you got to remember as fans, and if you're a Denny Hamlin fan, I'm not saying Denny's wrong. I'm just saying that a lot of times when these drivers say stuff after the race, and maybe even a day or 2 later, they've got a very one-sided opinion. They want things to be the best scenario for them to win. And there would be a time if Denny was to get his way and they say, okay, if you're a lap down, you're off the track. There was plenty of times Denny Hamlin's been a lap down, even in that number 11 Joe Gibbs car. So it would work in his favor far more. It would work not in his favor far more times than it would work in his favor if he was to have that happen.
Yeah, that's true. But, it's still, you just get frustrated when you're racing for the win. And
I get it. He's racing for the Brickyard. He had it. I mean, he had Brad Keselowski beat because Brad wasn't going to be able to catch him in those few laps. And that's painful to have that happen to you. I get it, but it's a little one-sided. Which, that's another thing I do love about this sport, is that sometimes drivers say things and you're like, do you actually see there's another side of the coin, or are you just saying that because you're the one that got shafted there? All right, we're going to take a break. Bob Harris of Adams County Speedway joins us to recap their points standings at Adams County as they wrapped it up last night, and a preview to the tradition coming up here in turn number 2. We'll be back on the front stretch.
In a world where speed reigns supreme, where discipline and danger collide, unpredictability is the one thing you can count on.
Right front tire is down. Oh, they made contact. Several cars involved.
On October 21st, just one hero will triumph. No one knows which hero it will be.
Harvick is there. Harvick around the outside for the lead.
Critics are calling it an unscripted masterpiece. If you see only one epic event this fall, make it this one. Kansas Speedway is the only place you can experience this kind of heart-pounding suspense. Witness a battle where drama lurks at every turn.
Kyle Larson rocketing out of turn number 2, and he'll pass 4 cars in 2 turns.
Coming soon to a track near you. The Hollywood Casino 400 Playoff Elimination Race, only at Kansas Speedway, October 21st. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com. Rated U for unexpected.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, rolling into turn number 2, and it's time to sit down with one of the great announcers in the area, hailing from Adams County Speedway. They just wrapped up their 2018 track championships last night. Bob Harris joining us on the show. Bob, how you doing, bud?
Hey, great. First-time caller, long-time listener. You guys do a great job. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks. I always do appreciate you coming on the show. You do such a great job, both with us and down at Adams County Speedway. You guys are doing a absolutely magnificent job. A lot of tracks are kind of laying down on their laurels as the racing community is having some tough times in the last 10 or 15 years. You guys are trying to buck that trend and doing some amazing stuff down there.
Right, Dan. I mean, I'm already started the last month and a half. I've been working on 2019 already, trying to solidify some things, and we've just really worked hard on the off season. As soon as the checkered flag flew on the 2017 season, we went right after it. We've got a bunch of new sponsors that have come on board that really we're excited. You know, and I think enthusiasm is contagious, both for the drivers and the fans. And so it's all perception. You got to pass the eyeball test. If you're throwing through new things at it for the racers and the fans and that, we're not going to rest on our laurels, like you said. And if you're playing to win and not playing to lose, hopefully that gives the perception is that we're going in the right direction.
Well, as long as you get that, like you say, it's contagious. As long as you got Bob down there at the bar that wants in and does something, and then you got the grocery store guy says, well, Bob's really happy. What can I get?
That's right. Exactly right. One feeds off another, and you know we had some great promotions. Our farm promotion, Farm Night, was huge. I think we had over 4,500 people in the grandstand. So when you have drivers racing in front of that type of crowd, they get excited. We threw big money at it. I had more car counts are up this year. We came back with our free night again. We actually landed the Stars and Stripes for the first time ever in the Adams County Speedway on the front stretch from the probably 4,000 or 5,000 feet in the air with 2 sky jumpers jumping and landed right on the front stretch. And we had, it was just an amazing deal for our salute to military and first responders. So we thought big, and we are very blessed to pull a lot of good things off. And we just got to keep that momentum going on for the racers and the fans and ACS in general.
Well, please keep it going, because we need as many of these tracks around the area to catch on to what you guys are doing and replicate it, because I think you guys are doing some great stuff down there.
Well, we appreciate it. We've it's been a great promotion committee. It's not one person. It's just a lot of good, committed race fans that are in a position to run a racetrack that are passionate about keeping the racetrack in Southwest Iowa afloat.
Well, you guys wrapped up your points last night, and like you talked about, going into the night, there was quite a few series that had been wrapped up because of some incredibly consistent drivers, but one of them was still up in the air as far as the points was concerned.
Yeah, obviously last week got rained out, and that was going to be the O'Reilly late models was going to be crowned that night. But last night, because they raced over at Knoxville last night, Bill Layton was awarded. He won the championship for the O'Reilly late models, followed by Jason O'Brien, Paul Glendanian, and Andrew Kaziski was 4th, and Sterling Perkins round out a great year in the top 5. But in that in the Tri-State Compacts, Dustin Thompson. He had a 37-point lead coming into the night. He was able to hold off Chris Panozda, who finished in the top 3 in the national point standings for NASCAR. He had a phenomenal season running over at I-80 and Adams County Speed. He ran it up in that runner-up spot. Buddy Heizik, Colton Garside, and John Berg rounded out your top 5 in that Tri-State Compacts. Dustin Thompson ended up winning, and he was your defending national title for NASCAR. He also won back-to-back titles in that championship for the Compacts.
Did Dustin win the championship down there at ACS last year?
Yes, he did. He absolutely did. And, of course, he started off the season a little slow and had some misfortunes, but he came barreling back hard and was able to Chris Van Osdale rolled a couple times and still, did a yeoman's job to put the car back together and not only race at our track, but I-80 on Friday. So he had a phenomenal season. He was a little bit short in the national hunt, but also a little short here in the championship. But the 15 car was definitely a competitor all year long.
Let's move on down. Head over to your Stalker Chevrolet B-Mods.
The B-Mods, Josh Sink, obviously was in the top 3 last year in the nation. He crowned his first track title over Kyle Tanner. He just had to start last night, and he actually captured the crown. Kyle Tanner was in second. Sean Kralik was third. Daniel Bodler in the 4th spot, and Cody Werner rounded out your top 5 in that Stalker Chevrolet B-Mods. In the Poet Biorefined and Modifieds, Jesse Dennis, no stranger to the I-80 folks over there. He captured the capture the championship over Jeff Wiggins in the 36 T machine. Josh Cooper was third, TJ Patterson fourth, and Craig Garner round out of your top 5 in the Poet Biorefining Modifieds. Sliding over to the last class, the Northland Oil Stock Cars. Tony Hardesty picked up a championship over Buck Shafroff. Jonathan Kinzer had a great year in third. Fourth was Joe Zadina, and Derek Dredge rounded out your top 5 in that class. So great night.
Your Chat Mobility Hobby Stocks, I'm not surprised at all to see Luke Ramsey in there. 10 wins on the year. Big advantage. And that guy's been fast. He won a track championship at I-80, defended his over there, and then came back out of Bedford and won over at Adams County Speedway.
Yep, third track title in a row for Luke Ramsey. Like you say, multiple wins, and I don't know the official, but I'm going to tell you, we're gonna be banging the drum. He is the national title winner for the Division 5 of NASCAR. Obviously, sharing the time with I-80 Speedway and Adams County Speedway, he had a mission. If your drivers listen to this and have never been to Charlotte for the NASCAR Weekend All-American Series banquet, you're awestruck. They roll you out. Dustin Thompson, a little old kid from Villisca, Iowa, driving a compact that maybe spent $3,500 on it. They had a chauffeur pick him up at the airport and drive him to the hotel. Wow. Him and his wife, Emily. So, I mean, when you see that it didn't matter if you're a compact racer or you're a big block wheel-in modified guy that spends hundreds of thousands of dollars on your race team, they got all treated the same. And that's one thing that NASCAR really does great. And so Luke Ramsey caught that vision down there, having to dress up in a tuxedo, and he wanted that national title. And of course, he set his mind to it, and he needed to run both racetracks to do it. And it looked like he pulled it off. And the official word will come here in the next week or so. But the NASCAR window closes yesterday, so we'll get the official announcement from NASCAR. But he was up over Chris Van Osdale, by 30 or 20 points or so.
Yeah, I've leaned on Joe Koziski and Steve Koziski a couple of times to see if they wanted to take one of their announcers to that banquet, but so far they haven't taken me up on it.
Dan, you got to go. You got to go. Tell me you do all the video. We did a video thing down there just because here's the thing: you 6 guys get to go down, or you're not all those 6 guys. So Billy Layton will do it from being a state title at I-80 Speedway and also Adams County Speedway. You've got 200 guys that race at each of our racetracks each year. If they would ever see and feel the ambiance in the NASCAR Hall of Fame and just go to some of the shops, they would work diligently to try to get to that Charlotte. That is your bucket list moment right there, is to be that. So we, as announcers, we need to go down and share that with the other drivers that don't get it down there for the banquet. So I think I'll talk to Joe and Steve, but Dan Taylor, you all need to go down there, and we should go run go-karts there at the slick track.
Deal.
And the prize money's pretty good, too.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. I think it's over $10,000 for the division or for the state title guys. I mean, $3,500 for NASCAR money, and I mean, Billy Layton really cleaned the clock for winning the Nebraska state title and also the Iowa state title. So, he was a fast cat all year long, and it's gone to a good champion, and he'll represent both racetracks well down at in Charlotte.
Well, I can't believe we're saying it, but the 2018 season is in our rearview mirror, and now we start focusing on the famous tradition at Adams County Speedway, brought to you by Napa this year. Talk a little bit about what drivers and fans can expect coming up September 28th and 29th at ACS.
Well, before we always had it one night. We did try it 2-day race here 4 or 5 years ago. We're bringing back 2 nights, so 28th and 29th, 21st annual tradition, $48,000 guaranteed purse. Guaranteed. It's not based on car count. They're going to put $48,000 up there, and we're going to give that out to the drivers. We just announced there's going to be over about $6,000 worth of contingency prizes out there for the drivers. And we're also going to do the lap money, so there's $3,500 worth of potential lap money for the leaders that it's going to be on top of this. So I had to go. I think we had to go rob a bank down there to find all that money to give these drivers. So
as long as it wasn't Malvern Bank.
Well, no. But I was disguised like you though, so I said hi, Jade, for you. So, but it is definitely a break the bank race, and we've always had a great race at the end of the season to really honor the stock cars and the hobby stocks, and then we added the B mods and the mods and the compacts. But the big thing I just sold yesterday is the compacts are going to pay $800 to win on Saturday, with $55 to start, $400 for the second spot. So all the compacts got treated They got kicked to the curb at the Boone Nationals, so we're going to have our own compact nationals at the tradition, and throwing 800 bones at it should attract a lot of those compact guys to come around the big half mile.
That's awesome to hear. And starting for the at least tow money for that race for the Sport Compacts is more than most of these guys will win if they win their race at their weekly track.
Yeah, it's again, it all works on the numbers, and if you throw money at it, our drivers will come. I mean, that's why we're paying $2,002 to win for the modifieds and the stock cars. That's just a good reward. That's $200 to start for those two divisions. You got the B mods, $1,500 to win on Saturday, $1,200 to win on Saturday for the hobby stocks. And we're going to run a Friday night program. It's a little bit bumped up for the weekly purse, but you're going to get paid on Friday, and you're going to get double paid or triple paid on Saturday. So everybody's going to make money no matter what they're racing at the Adams County Speedway on the 28th and 29th. And the cool factor is in the stock car division, the top 8 get locked in from Friday night, and they'll run a pole dash, which we're going to give more money for that. But in the stock car class, it's going to be the first annual Kevin Sharp Memorial. We lost Kevin and his family, Amy, and his kids back in March with that tragic incident down in Mexico when they were on vacation. We started the season with a memorial for Kevin Sharp, and we're going to end it at their tradition with a special pole dash for Kevin Sharp in his honor. So that'll be kind of a special, bittersweet moment. He's a former tradition winner in that class, and he was one heck of a promoter and racer, and a lot of people loved Kevin. We're going to honor him on Saturday on the 29th in the Kevin Sharp Memorial.
Kevin Sharp Strong, hashtag Sharp Strong, number 2. That's kind of the theme between the 2002 to win for your stock cars and modifieds. $1,502 for the sport modifieds, $1,202 for the hobbies, and $802 for the compacts, as that was just updated as you guys got that locked up. Any other information people need to know about coming up for the next couple of days?
Yep, we're just basically $10 admission for the fans on Friday night and $15 on Saturday night, and basically you're gonna if the drivers get out there, make sure they get pre-entered. The deadline's the 24th of September, so you want to make sure you take advantage of that pre-entry list, and then that way we can utilize some of those names that they're coming to the tradition, and I think we're going to have a full field of cars. I think we had 147 cars last year on the one-day show, and I think other than maybe some Friday night football will hurt us a little bit on Friday, but nonetheless, those drivers can still come on Saturday and race for some big money. Like I said, $48,000 guaranteed purse, $6,000 of the contingencies, $3,500 of potential lap money. It's going to be great. It's going to be a good way to kick off the end of the season, and then after that race, I want to see if I can come back on the show. We have maybe some big announcements for 2019 that I'm about ready to sew up that the race fans and drivers will need to know before going into the snow flying.
Well, once you gave those prices, Dan opened up his wallet, and once all the dust settled, he can come Friday. He's got a $10 bill.
He's got a $10.
I wish you wouldn't have dined me out on that, because I had a good line. I was going to say, me and my friend Alexander Hamilton could get into ACS, and I was going to try to sound smart, but Dirk totally just He just ruined that for me.
I'll put you guys on the VIP list, brother. Here's the fun thing. I mean, already for 2019, because we fly the NASCAR umbrella, we are putting a 44-foot a new press box up on top of our grandstand as soon as the race is over on the 29th. It's going to have a new announcer's booth, new scorer's booth, but 20 foot of it's going to go to a VIP, VIP air conditioner, the refrigerator and the whatnot. So we're going to have a new press box up there. I think the other one's 20 foot. We're going to go 44 foot. It is going to be really a neat addition to the top side of that. So the Fair Board, Adams County Fair and Racing Association, is always trying to improve that facility. If you haven't been down there, we've got 2 new entrances. We've got Sioux Cup grain bins, donated 2 grain bins for us. One's the entrance and one's the new pit shack. So we really have changed the look of the Speedway. We've got a 44-foot building that's going to be the ACS Hall of Fame, so that'll be opened up next year. So got a carport area for some hospitality stuff. So a lot of good things happened in 2018, and we're just going to keep that ball rolling. And we got even bigger ideas for 2019.
That's awesome.
The grain bins for an ag community are perfect.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I tapped into the whole farm community, and that's where our farming night was so huge that that's our customer base, and we need to reward them. And obviously, a lot of people sell to the farming community, and I went and tapped into those sponsors, and they were more than happy to come on board and celebrate good old NASCAR Weekly Racing Series, and all of our fans and drivers really appreciated it.
Bob, always do appreciate your time. ACSSpeedway.com is where fans can go to get more information, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be great. Look forward to you guys coming down there.
Thanks. I appreciate the invite. I'm going to try to take you up on it. I just got to, check with the boss.
Yeah, kitchen pass.
And he don't mean me.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks a lot, Bob.
Have her people call my people, and we'll see if we can get you out of the house.
All right, I appreciate that. I think you got more pull with Joe Kaczynski than my boss, but we'll see which one works out better.
All right, see you guys.
Thanks, Bob. Have a great day. Bob Harris, once again, of Adams County Speedway. For the tradition and their point standings, get to ACSSpeedway.com, and they'll get you taken care of. Great event coming up in the next couple of weeks. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 3. There's a lot more of the front stretch to come, so stick around. We'll be back.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Today's live show on the front stretch is brought to you by Archer Purdue Auto Sales, and find out more about them at archerpurdue.com.
Yeah, 14227 S Street, straight west from the amazing pizza machine out there in Millard, the home of the original $149 payment. But get on archerpurdue.com, take a look at the inventory, give the guys a call, see if they can help get you in a vehicle, because they're the original home, I should say, of the $149 a month payment.
Thank you to Archer Purdue Auto Sales for bringing in all the live shows in 2018 on the front stretch.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to it. Only about 20 minutes left in the front stretch, and we got a lot to talk about, so we're going to dive right into it. I want to cross things up just a quick minute. The Tiny Lund wrapped up last night at Shelby County Speedway, so I want to send out a congratulations to the feature winners. That included Denny Berghan Jr. for the Sport Compacts, Jason Cole for the Hobby Stocks, Joe Fayen for your Sport Modifieds, Mike Nichols, shocker there, won in the stock cars.
No.
I know. Zach Zeitner picked up the feature win for the Bragging Right late models, and your Modifieds went to Craig Reitz. So congratulations to everybody that won at the Tiny Lund. Big race over at Shelby County Speedway.
I thought Zach Zeitner was at Knoxville.
Corey Zeitner was.
So was the 76, the yellow car.
Maybe it was Al.
Well, Zach was the one that got the invitation.
Well, he was at 2 places at once somehow because they got him on the winner's sheet for the for Shelby County Speedway for the Tiny Lund. So,
well, interesting.
Something for maybe the X-Files to look into. I know they're looking for more storylines.
Can't turn it over to Mueller.
So congratulations to Zach Zeitner, first on winning the bracket right late models at the Tiny Lund, and for being in 2 places at once. So that's new. Congratulations to that. All right, I wanted to talk a little bit about a big announcement that's going to be coming that I just got word of today. Now, we talked to Kevin Larkins a couple of weeks ago back when I-80 Speedway was claiming Anthony Roth's engine. And Kevin said that he was working on getting Ron Hornaday Jr. to come over and do a little bit of racing in a modified that was on display at Speedway Motors. While Ron's not going to come over and do any racing, he will be over here for the week of the Cornhusker Classic, and he's going to come out and enjoy all the festivities and watch all the races. So Dirk and I are going to get to work in the next week or so. First off, we're going to have Ron on the show talking about his career and talking about coming over to I-80 Speedway for the Cornhusker Classic. And then we're going to try to set up some meet and greets. So we'll work on getting some appearances for you guys so that you can come out either out at I-80 Speedway or maybe work on getting something down at Quaker Steak and Lube.
I mean, the guys, I've met him obviously several times, and whether or not he remembers me as an official with the truck series when he was winning championships or not, it's a whole nother story. But the guy can flat drive.
Absolutely.
He drove about everything. He didn't have much luck when he did get his chance to run in the Cup Series, but I believe Kyle Busch just recently broke his record for most Truck Series wins.
Did he?
I think. And
great driver, great guy, really personable. It'll be fun to have him over in this area. I know he's really big into dirt racing now that his NASCAR career is kind of wound back down. As we do, these guys come back home to their dirt roots and have a little bit of fun with us in the small community. So,
well, he wasn't so much a dirt racer as he was an asphalt racer when he was out in California because he was from Willow Springs, or that was his home track back there. But like I said, the guy could flat drive, and probably the last thing in his waning years that he was famous for was when Kyle Busch crashed him and then got set down and couldn't race the Cup race that weekend in Texas a couple of years ago.
So Ron Hornaday will be at the Cornhusker Classic coming up October, I believe that's the 12th, 13th, and it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday show. Thursday's practice. So that's Thursday the 11th, and then the Friday, Saturday, 12th and 13th will be the days that he's out at I-80 Speedway for the Cornhusker Classic. All right, talk about a couple of the NASCAR news and notes. Man, there's been a lot of stuff that's come out this week about driver changes, so we got to get you recapped. Ryan Newman formally confirmed that he will not be returning to the 31 car at Richard Childress Racing for 2019. Says, I have very much enjoyed driving the number 31 for Richard Childress, and I want to personally thank Richard Childress and everybody at RCR for their support over the last 5 seasons. He's decided that he is not going to return to that car and that he doesn't have anything to announce for his future plans as of right now, although he has been rumored. I'm drawing a blank on where he was rumored to be heading over to.
Well,
Roush, right?
I was going to say Roush because Trevor Bayne is not going to be back in the 6 car, and he also has no plans. But, yeah, that was where Newman was being rumored to maybe ending up.
And in conjunction with that, no firm plans for Matt Kenseth continuing to drive that car, the number 6 for Roush Fenway Racing in 2019. Kenseth said that, or not Kenseth, Adam Stern tweeted that plans for 2019 Roush Fenway number 6 unclear as of right now. Kenseth not guaranteed to return. Most industry execs are confirming that Trevor Bayne is out, which Roush did later confirm that later in the week. But that could be maybe those two sharing a ride, bringing over enough sponsorship dollars to fulfill that ride, and then enough experience between the two that they could help Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 17 kind of elevate his game back up to where it needs to be.
Well, that, and as far as Matt Kenseth goes, there's plenty of rumors that he could possibly end up over at Stewart Haas. There's also rumors that he could end up in that RCR car.
Yeah, with Kurt Busch out at the 41, I think that's pretty much been confirmed that he's not going to be returning to the 41 in 2019. So now who's going to be in that 41 car?
Yeah, well, like I said, the only one I've heard that's going to be in there is Matt Kenseth, but you and I both know, as we speculated over a year ago, that Cole Custer was probably the heir apparent to that seat. But, time will tell.
Absolutely. So a lot of moving parts. We'll dedicate a full turn coming up in the next show or two when we've got a little bit more time that we'll kind of sit down to talk about all the shifting and changing with the seats in 2019, the ones that we can confirm and all that fun stuff.
And hopefully any new sponsors that end up showing up, because now there's a little bit of scuttle that maybe Lowe's isn't going to disappear like they'd originally said. Maybe they're going to hang around and cover a handful of races anyway for Hendrick.
And I was reading that article, and apparently Lowe's is being courted by another team to come over and fill in a handful of races. So Lowe's is kind of weighing their options right now and deciding what they want to do.
That's nothing new in the sport, but it has been rather rampant this year. I mean, in the truck series, there's been that Freight Solutions. It was on DJ Cobb's truck for a while, and then it showed up on Brett Moffitt's truck for a few races and stuff like that. And DJ was a little upset about that. And then we had the big scuttle with, who was it over at Chip Ganassi that was suing Chip for stealing DC Solar.
Oh. Gosh, was it Ross Chastain?
Brandon Poole.
Brandon Poole, yeah.
Brandon Poole, that's who it was.
And speaking of Ross Chastain, congratulations on picking up the win at Las Vegas.
He ended up winning.
Yep, led 180 of the 200 laps. So a good dominating win for him. That's going to do it for our news and notes. We'll get a little bit more in depth like we were talking about in the next couple of weeks when we've got a little bit more time. But a big couple of shows coming up in the next month, as we've got drivers all throughout the area winning championships, winning series championships, and making their plans for 2019. And good news, I got to work pretty hard this week. The Young Gun feature will be coming back. And if you have any young guns, any young drivers in the sport, whether they're 30 and in their second year or whether they're
13
16,
in their first year.
Right. Or they're like we had Jacob Hobscheit, who was 16 and in his 12th year of racing. Young gun can mean young rookie season to the first couple of years, or actually young in age. And just send it over to us, frontstretchradio@gmail.com. I'll get you the form. We'll get that all filled out, and then we'll get them featured on the show. But we're going to be returning that next week. We've got a couple of guys already in the hopper and a bunch of people that are filling out the form. So thanks a lot to I-80 Speedway and Sura, Kelly, and Sewell for continuing to sponsor that. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in turn number 4. We'll get you all set for today's race at Las Vegas and what the playoff picture is going to look like. Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs. Yep, that's going to be coming up in turn number 4. We'll be back on the front stretch.
That's a lousy chip.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, White Knuckle Racing, just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
Finding a home can be the most important decision in your life. It's the simple factors of neighborhood, garage size, the school district, and commute that get overlooked by most realtors. Those are the aspects that Jim Blazina has been focusing on since 1988. From rental properties to your forever home, the Racing Realtor will work hard to get you exactly what you're looking for, and he can help list your home for a speedy sale. Contact Jim Blazina today, 402-980-8400, or jblazina@npdodge.com.
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
Just about ready to wrap this baby up. Rolling into turn number 4, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Get over to the Lube today for all the action for Las Vegas Motor Speedway race number 1 in round number 1 of the 2018 playoffs. Coverage is on NBCSN at 1 o'clock. Green flag set to wave at 2 o'clock. And as far as I know, rain's not going to be a factor in Las Vegas. Now, a lot of these race teams headed out early, so they've been over at Las Vegas a day or two early to avoid the storm that was hitting the East Coast. But as far as I understand, we don't have to worry about the race getting moved up, the race racing on Monday, or any kind of fun stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that hurricane's just a couple miles away from the racetrack this week.
Just a few. Good heading over there. Again, all the action for today's race coverage is on NBCSN at 1 o'clock and the Green Flag Waves at 2 o'clock. If you don't have NBCSN, head over to Quaker Steak and Lube. They've got some great football specials that you can take advantage of, even though you're there to watch the NASCAR race on the big screens of Quaker Steak and Lube.
And this Cup race at Vegas usually ends up with little guys getting a little too close for comfort, and usually a little bit of drama comes out of this race.
You would say so. Rolling into race number 1, there's a couple of guys that are on the bubble already, and you're talking about Alex Bowman and Jimmy Johnson. Neither of them have any bonus playoff points, so they're in a hole already, but they're going to be battling with Eric Almirola and Denny Hamlin. Now, Eric Almirola has one bonus playoff point, and Denny Hamlin has 3. So Denny Hamlin is leading in that charge of the first 4 drivers that could be eliminated. Kyle Larson, though, is only 2 points ahead of Denny Hamlin with 2005 points in 12th. And from there, it's a tie all the way up to 10th with 2005 points. So this race is going to be really important. And I think somebody like Jimmy Johnson, who's expected to carry on into the next round, has got to perform all 3 races.
Well, if you look at those 4 drivers, even though his year has not been real good, he's shown a few good signs, but he's probably the one you would pick if you say, out of these 4 drivers, who's going to win a race?
Mm-hmm.
You'd probably say Jimmy Johnson, but again, he hasn't performed like a big winner, and he hasn't won in over a full season. So for him, he's never gone this far into a season without a win. Let's put it that way.
And he's never gone this long without a win, I believe. It's his longest winless streak.
Yeah, I mean, he's 40-some-odd races without a win, so it's quite the deal. Nobody would be surprised if Alex Bowman goes out. Nobody would be surprised if Eric Almirola goes out. Denny Hamlin's kind of in the same boat. He's usually got a win by now, but hasn't been able to put one together. But has definitely showed good signs and run up. And his biggest problem has been himself this year on pit road.
Yeah, it's been like that for the last couple of years. At what point do they sit him down and say, slow it down? Or what point do they take over and slow him down? Because his pit road speeding penalties have got to be the most of anybody each year and in 3 or 4 consecutive years.
Well, and they've taken him out of a couple chances to win this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why he's so frustrated with like the Indy deal, when he came out very vocal, these back markers are crashing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because he's just been frustrated with not being able to get a win. And part of that's his frustration with himself.
And don't forget, if one of these 4 drivers wins in the next 3 races, they automatically move on to the next round. So if Bowman was able to knock off a win, Jimmy Johnson, Eric Almirola, or Denny Hamlin, they'd automatically move on to the next round. And this is the round that most people pretty much understand that as long as you run consistent and you don't beat yourself, you're going to move on.
Right. This round, basically, as long as you finish in the top 20 all 3 times, you're probably moving on.
Yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Las Vegas. Then the next race will be at Charlotte at the Roval course. And I'm missing one race on the schedule. I'll have to go back and look at
Dover?
I think so. I don't know how that's not on my sheet. But, yeah, and then the elimination race is at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So, the Charlotte Roval. So that'll be interesting to see how that race rolls out, because that's going to be the big wild card for this round, is that Charlotte Roval course. The 4 guys, once again, that are on the bubble for today's race and needing to get their win or needing to have a good race, again, Eric Almirola, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, and Austin Dillon. Big news coming out of the dirt racing world that Huset Speedway went up for auction this week. Actually, I think it was the bids were placed yesterday. All the bids were heard on confidence, so it wasn't a public auction. It was all done within a sealed environment. No media was allowed to get in there, and no big news has come out of there other than we will know noon Pacific time, which will be 2 p.m. our time on Monday afternoon, what the announcement is. And a lot of people really want to see that track back up and running.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody wants to see every dirt track back up and running, but whether or not it'll actually happen, it might be somebody that bids it and buys it and turns it into apartments. Who knows what's going to happen there?
It's such a nice track. I mean, I wish I had I think they were talking about somewhere around $3.5 million for that facility. was the numbers that were being thrown around.
Well, clean out your washing machine. You probably got that line in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wish that I hope somebody takes it over that can just get it up and running again. I mean, it's an expensive facility to keep running, but it's a facility that should be as successful as Knoxville if somebody takes the time and effort to put into it.
Well, and it's got a big sprint car background, so, maybe Tony Stewart was going to jump in there and, up his little empire on what he wants to do with, dirt tracks, because, he did take over is this year he takes over the Chili Bowl, or is it next year?
Well, I haven't heard anything more about that, but yeah, the last I'd heard was that there was a 5-year deal that he was buying the Chili Bowl, and he was supposed to take over ownership of it, and it should be in the next year or two that he takes over full ownership.
I just don't know if it's coming up here over the winter, if it's one more year.
Hey, circling back around, Las Vegas today, Richmond coming up this Saturday night, and then we end round number 1 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So we got to get you set for Richmond also, which is going to be Saturday night. Coverage is on NBCSN and MRN, with the green flag set to wave approximately 6:30 on Saturday night. So make sure you get your picks on time. Talking about your picks, we did our playoff reset for the 2018 Pick'ems contest, and a little bit of a shakeup. There was a couple of people that Sign It, who was sitting in 12th, Scott Rohr was sitting in 12th, had 5 wins on the year. So I think as the season kind of progressed and we got closer and closer to the Chase reset, he kind of backed off and quit picking his valuable picks. But then he reset to be, I believe he'll be sitting in 3rd with 2018 points. He had 6 wins on the year. So 6 drivers he picked. He's going to be tied for the lead with crosswinds. Dennis, who we talked about, led most of the year. I think he's led like 20 of the 26 weeks,
something like that.
And now he forfeited the lead for just a couple of weeks to Cole, and now he's back into the points lead. 6 wins on the season, so he's going to reset with 2018 points. This is our reset for our fantasy league is a lot like the old NASCAR playoff system, where it was reset for 10 races, and then we went at it for 10 races and see how it went. And so Dennis taking over that points lead, and he's got a big advantage. But now it's all shrunk back together to where 16th is only 18 points behind Dennis and Scott for that second for that tied spot. So make sure to get all your picks in on time for today's Pick'ems contest. Thanks again to Rick Havenridge for sponsoring that race, and a big thank you to Kansas Speedway for supporting the 5-week contest in that in the second one that we're doing, as we've walked into our second race for that contest. And it's a tight one there, Dirk, as we've come to expect with these.
Well, and that's, what makes it fun for everybody doing it. And, of course, they're going to get to go down and hang out with the Starcom driver, who hasn't been announced yet, but I'm going to be willing to bet it's probably Landon Castle. And he was with them when we had the race back in May, and everybody had a good time with him, a couple photo ops, and, got to listen to him on the radio. And he was around for the whole race. So,
the excitement level will be up at the October race, with it being the Elimination Series race. So Kevin Beadle messaged me, and he goes, well, 2 weeks in, I've got a 4-point lead. You think I can hold on to it? And he's an old buddy of mine, and I said, nah, you'll find a way to screw it up. just like we always do. But it's it actually is more spread out than we've seen in the past. Going 2 weeks into this, there's usually 20 contestants that are still in it for the win, but it's kind of starting to narrow itself down already, with 103 points for Kevin in the lead, and Emily Million sitting in second with 99, and then it starts to drop off pretty heavily after that. Fourth place is 89 points. 7th place, 88 points, 87 points for 10th. So they're definitely not out of it, but it's getting pretty tight.
Well, yeah, and it's just going to take, somebody get a lucky streak, and if there is an oddball winner and you happen to pick him and he scored some points in both segments, that's what's really changed the game over the last couple of years, is those segment points.
Sorry, I was just reading some breaking news on the Ottawa Racing Complex. Somebody just resigned from the facility. I'll have to get you that as we find out more information about that. We'll have to find out what's going on there. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thank you to Kansas Speedway for supporting the front stretch. Tickets for the Hollywood Casino 400 are on sale now at kansasspeedway.com or call 866-460-RACE. The coverage for today's Las Vegas race is on the big screens of Quaker Steak and Lube at 1 o'clock with the green flag waving at 2, and that's the same thing for next Saturday night's race at Richmond. They'll be on the big screens.
And thanks to Arch Purdue for having our live show today.
Thank you very much. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. That's going to do it. Thanks to Craig for pushing the buttons. We'll do it again next weekend as the front stretch rolls on.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you white knuckle racing by the river bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.